Hello and welcome to this slightly different from me way of teaching painting, and that's through my groups who meet weekly during term time. So we're going to attempt to paint this together in 10 stages over the coming weeks, and it's a way of introducing you to a bit more detail than we're able to manage in class. It is using one of my favourite subjects, which is bird painting, and this is a photograph I took of a kingfisher earlier this spring, and we're going to use this as a basis for the picture. We're going to start this week with the drawing, and few requirements are needed for this. I like to use a clutch pencil. This has a 2B lead in it and a 0.7mm diameter lead, which ensures that the pencil is always sharp. It's important with detail to keep a sharp pencil and keep your detail crisp and neat. In case things go wrong, which they probably will, I'm also going to be using a putty rubber. With the 2B lead is quite soft, and it should lift off relatively easily with this and not leave any marks on the paper. When this is done and we put the background wash on, we're going to use some drawing gum or masking solution to protect some of the white paper. We're going to protect the bird and the perch. And finally, it's a worthwhile thing to get a secondary source of reference at least, so that you have another painting or drawing or something of the bird, so you can double check against it rather than rely on one image. I'm going to, with a light pencil stroke so it's easy to rub out, I'm going to make some basic shapes, which is the basis for the start of a lot of drawings actually. That's to look for shapes in the image that are easy to draw, and we have quite a flat oval shape in here for this head, and I'll put it in lightly as an oval. And before we get too bogged down with detail, I'm going to look at the next shape, which is the shape of the body here, which is again an oval or an egg shape, but it's at more of an angle. This shape is horizontal. The body shape is more an oval like that. Now an oval shape is one thing, but we've got to try and get this in proportion to this oval. So we've got two shapes, 1, 2. And one way of doing this is to measure it, but I can do it simply with my pencil and say that is 1 unit of measurement. And then if I put that on the edge of the body oval, I can see that the body is roughly 1.5 times the head. So there's 1, goes to there, and then a half goes to there, which actually, that's not bad. So double check everything as we progress, and because that is roughly the right shaped oval, I'm going to just firm up the shape a little bit down to the feet, and I'm going to take that back, comes out quite a way, it rounds off and actually comes back in on itself for the tail here. Okay, and back to the head now. Get the biggest details in first, and The bill, you can almost draw a line through the centre of the head there, from the point of the bill through the eye to the back of the head. So the bill is going to be positioned through the centre of the head like that, and I'll draw this line through. Now these basic lines give the stance of the bird. Now we're closer, you can see the faint line around the very rough oval contrasts with the slightly darker, more formed line around the pale body oval there. So we have the line of the bill, and now I want to just get the proportion of the bill to the head, and it looks like roughly the same again, but let's just check it. That's the tip of the bill to the head is 1, and from where the bill is there, actually fractionally the head is wider. So if that's going to be the width of the head, say to there, to the front of the bill, because you see that lines up roughly with the front of the breast there of the bird. So that will be our mark. So I'm just indicating that a little with a dummy line. These light lines that eventually will be rubbed out are called construction lines. They're nothing to do with the detail on the bird, but it helps to put them in. It helps you keep the drawing accurate. So from there to there, and then take it in a little bit. So this bill, actually, that doesn't look too bad at all. It is quite a long bill, and I'm going to put this in, and this is where it's important to have a sharp pencil, because we also want a sharp point to the stabbing bill of the kingfisher. Not that it stabs the bird, not that it stabs the fish, but it has a real aggressive shape to the bill. Again, this is all going to be modified. This is just quickly sketching in. The shape of this oval now is the head is coming up from the bill, starts to, it sort of flattens out a little bit and then comes high up at the back. I might have flattened that out a bit too much. It looks a bit wrong on the top, so I'm going to lightly take that line out with the putty rubber, not putting too much pressure on this at all, and then just give a little bit of a less flat top to that, up to the dome, and then this comes back to an angle that is quite sharp there, and it forms a cap or a shape on the back of the bird's head, which is largely flat. I can rub out that construction line now, and what happens with the bill of a bird is doesn't just, if the bill ends at the front of the head like that, it looks like it's been sewn on, so you've got to bring that back round now. I'd guess to the centre line there. Okay. And this goes up, and what I try and find are lovely lines, like that line goes through there and then curves down to that point there. We have that point, we have that point, and we have that point. So I'm going to try and get a curve that comes through there and angles down to there. If you keep your hand on the paper and just rotate at the wrist, it'll give you like a compass, which will enable you to make a nice curved line down to there. And the other side of the blue feather there, now I'm just going to modify that shape, because these orange feathers start from the bill and come back there, and then this is a white feather, or feathers, come over the back. So that's the basic shape of the kingfisher's head. And the eye has got to be above that, and what I normally do is just put it in as a circle to get position, and it looks quite comfortable close to that orange, and if I check with the drawing it is close to the orange, and the size looks about right. Now there's a shape goes above the eye, and again I look for a curve off the front of the head and the bill here, and it comes up like that into another soft curve. And although I'm drawing this, as it were, I'm looking at that shape as well to make sure that's not too thick or too thin against the drawing. Okay. Now the eye is actually more oval than round, it's slightly oval, so I'll refine that shape now and flatten that shape against the head. Now is the time to rub out some of these early lines of the oval, so that the white paper is restored, and then I'm going to start just to gently and subtly reshape the bill. It seems to get tapers nearer the tip like that. I'm just going to take that tip point out and just shorten it fractionally. And the upper mandible, which is the top part of the bill, probably the lower mandible, sort of goes up under it a bit. I have a feeling the upper mandible, looking at the photograph, is more visible than the lower mandible. There's, it's wider there because for a start the nostril is going to be up here somewhere. So I'll just bring that bill up in a nice smooth curve again into the head, and that looks more elegant. In fact, if we look carefully, that line goes no, not like that, it doesn't. But it's important that the bill doesn't look as though it's stuck on. just rub the thin line out that separates the two mandibles. It's going to be the nose there. So that looks to me quite elegant. I can indicate the darker markings, which are kind of like that, come across the top of the eye, across the top of the bill there, and there's a patch of light feather that's dark all around it, that cockles up steeply there and comes back like that. So I'm not drawing the actual feathers on this, but I'm drawing those feather groups. So let's now get some shape onto this orange belly of the bird here. I think I'm happy with that, so I'm going to just strengthen that and just remove some of the original line. But I think the most important shape to get in here is this wing, that lovely curve there. If you look at it, it's sort of like a serpentine, like an S shape. But there is another little group of feathers up here, which goes from about here, and basically they are angled across the shoulders of the wing. So again, being an understandable and simple shape, we can just simply put an upside down heart shape in there and then compare it with the drawing, and that looks okay. That needs to be perhaps just a little bit straighter. We can just refine these lines, and there's probably another little dink in there. Yeah. So I'm going to try and just draw in that lovely curved shape. I've got my hand round this way so I can draw that soft edge there, and then I'll bring it round and draw that edge like that. So I'm doing it very lightly because it may well be wrong, but at least it starts off in the right place. And as I become confident with it, I just sort of block it in. And you'll notice that lines that are right have a certain elegance to them, I think. And that's great. And if you look at that group of feathers, I know we're drawing the wing, but if you look at this line, and the way that sweeps down to that pear drop shape there, it looks very much to make that pear drop shape as though those feathers need to be like that. Line here of feathers keeps coming down here. It doesn't join onto that point because under here are the feet of the bird as he sits on the branch. Okay, so that's the feet. Again, that looks perfectly okay. I'm sure if we measured up from the feet, that vertical line would be the back of the eye. And if I measured up from here, oh, it's quite a bit back of the eye actually. So perhaps the feet should be a little further back. They should start a bit further back. This needs to look balanced, you know. If it's not balanced, the eye will pick it up, and then we'll be wondering why that doesn't look right. So here I've brought that back behind the eye, but the thing that confuses it is the feathers hang. There's no weight to the feathers obviously, so they hang quite close to that balancing point. Nonetheless, this looks, to my eye, looks very attractive as the front end edge of the wing. This mantle of pale blue feathers, it's up here near a line we've already agreed looks correct. So start from something that you've done that you're sure is correct. So that back mantle of feathers here comes over the back, it cuts into about that bend point which is there, and then the wing starts to emerge from underneath those feathers just there. So this is all that powder blue colour of feathers going down the back here. There's two distinct blue colours in here. I don't want to draw too much feather detail in, just the feather group details, otherwise it's going to look too clumsy. Just look and check and refine until you're happy. There's a really nice feather shape here we ought to get in. Coming out from under those feathers there. Okay, now that's a feather edge, but there is a row of dots along this edge, of light dots, and some feathers that come around here and come around here. Not actually obvious lines like that, but you can think of these again as construction lines for those white dots when I come to put them in. I'm just interested in using these to get the shape. This comes a little closer to that edge because there's another group of feathers just here. And then we have the tips of the primary feathers, which are tucked up under here, stick out. These ones, these darker ones here, they come out at more of an angle actually. They come out like comes down there like that and around there like that, and then on the back here those are the tips of the flight feathers, and the tip of the flight feather there sticks out on that side, just a tiny little tip of the feather. Okay, so that's blue, that's orange underneath, and the tail feathers come from here down to form at an angle like that, and it's going the right way, and it's happening beautifully just to meet at the bottom of the kingfisher's tail there, and these feathers across the back, these pale blue ones, end somewhere like that, leaving the tail feathers of the darker blue to stick out. Okay, just refine these lines. I think that's all I need to do for this. Okay, just neaten up this a little bit for the masking. Okay. Now just to sort the feet out. What we have actually is the end of the log here. So I'm going to use this photograph, the log on this photograph, as a support for this bird. But you know, you can find your own log in the garden or on a country walk or something suitable, or take a photograph of something suitable to perch the kingfisher on in the countryside and adapt this bird to fit your particular support or perch. Okay, myself, I'm going to use this, and I'm going to take that shape up. Well, that's it for part 1. In part 2, we will be applying the masking fluid to the drawing and painting the background. So it's goodbye until then.